It's the end of the week, and I asked Daniel this. What early game lines Georgia actually has a shot in heck in? I ask him next. Locked on Bulldogs.
You are Locked on Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Locked on Bulldogs podcast. He, of course, is Clint. I am Daniel. We are your Georgia Bulldog fan experts. We're experts at being fans, and we're happy that you're here each and every day with us on the Locked on Bulldogs podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network. Thanks for being an everydayer. Thanks for being a first listener. Thanks for listening all the way to the end, to the loyal third segment listeners, the 199. We love you guys. Thanks for making this podcast go. As Clint mentioned, we're at the end of another week. And it's been a busy week for Georgia and a pseudo-interesting week for college football fans. We got some recruiting things to talk about. As Clint mentioned, we're going to talk about some early game lines that have come out. So Las Vegas is trying to get you in on the action. And so we will dive into all of that in a moment. But Clint, as we get started today, let's focus on the recruiting trail because Georgia had a productive week recruiting.
Some may say, Daniel.
I was told once by a collegiate football coach who will remain nameless that you really only need to recruit a couple months out of the year. There's really it's a few weeks that matter, and then the rest of the time you're just going to kick back. You don't really think about it all that much. He was employed at ESPN for a while.
What happened to that?
And now a college has actually hired him again. The same person.
What state, by the way, what state is that in? Does that matter?
I would tell you, but it seems as though you already know.
I already know.
Kirby, meanwhile, is recruiting all the time. Georgia is winning at recruiting all the time. And so let me talk to you about three prospects, Clint. And I'm going to paint a picture for you. These are all 2026 prospects, all of which either committed or reaffirmed their commitment, doubled down, ended their recruitment, shut things down, said I'm 100% I'm all dog. I'm going to talk to you about three recruits. They are Justice Fitzpatrick, four-star corner out of St. Thomas Aquinas in Florida. Do we get any recruits out of Florida typically? It's hard to tell. Vance Spafford, four-star wide receiver out of California. And Heron Zuricat? I don't know. I'll learn how to pronounce his name later. Number one kicker in the 2026 class. Some recruiting services have him listed as a 5-star, which as a kicker, Clint.
As a kicker.
A 5-star. Now, I'm not going to ask you which of these recruits you're most excited about. I'm going to mix the question up a little bit.
I love it.
I'm going to ask you this question. In 5 years, when we look back, I will say, Clint, tell me between these three men, who had the bigger impact on the University of Georgia out of these three individuals? Now, again, in the era of the transfer portal, will all three of them even finish their careers at Georgia? There's no way to know that.
Who's to say?
But factoring in all that, who do you believe is going to have the biggest impact on the University of Georgia football program out of those three guys?
Look, I kind of wanted to try to be cute with this and say, it's been a hot minute since we had an automatic 3 on the field, Daniel. It's been a hot minute since you and I, those rec specs were glorious.
Yeah. You say that, but Georgia's been on they've been on a bit of a run with kickers. Like we haven't had a truly like bubble guts type kicker in a while for Georgia. Podlesny did his thing, and Georgia has been on a bit of a run, I think Georgia fans maybe forget what it's like to every time that guy trots out onto the field, you are just absolutely kicking back Pepto-Bismol. I mean, hand over fist.
And this kid that, again, we will learn the correct pronunciation.
When the time is appropriate.
Aaron, we got you. Okay. I'm seeing 56, 58, 61-yard field being
he got depth. He got depth on the leg. Yeah.
So I want to start out saying, if you're forgetting what it's like having a kicker that you don't have to have those bubble guts for, if you have forgotten that feeling, good on you. That I have not forgotten that feeling. It is still very pressed in my soul and in my head. And so Zuricat is somebody that I am excited is at UGA, and I am not tongue-in-cheeking that. Like 3 points, when you come away with 3 from a stalled drive on the 30, is monumental.
It's how you win games.
It's how you win games and win seasons.
But that ain't your answer, Clint.
That's not my answer. No.
Okay.
I want to go wide receiver because everybody in the world wants to go wide receiver. Everybody talking to wide receivers. Vance Spafford, oh my goodness, just absolutely white lightning. This kid is electric. He is quick. He is fast. He has a burst of energy. I get it. I really do understand. Pardon me for not getting thrilled about wide receivers in college football, unless you're Ohio State, who, by the way, had 2 of the best phenomenal wide receivers, but it was their running game and their run defense that won them a championship, just so we're fully aware. 2 generational wide receivers, and your running game and your run defense won you a national championship. Okay. But Daniel. Fitzpatrick.
Talk to me.
Comes on over. He is an Alabama legacy.
Oh, that's weird.
He is a lock for Alabama. I was told. That's what I was told.
Well, of course he is.
Lock for Alabama. This kid plays above the 4-star ranking. Look for that ranking to go ahead and skyrocket when they reallocate them, when all of a sudden the season begins and something else comes. For him to shut this down, for him to have ties to Alabama, for him to come over to Georgia, for him to see the development of DBs at Georgia and continue. Again, I just look at the NFL and look at the legacy. Keely Ringo is about to start for the Eagles this next year. They let people walk because they had Keely Ringo. You talk about Campbell. You talk about a whole host of other guys that are in the league. Stokes, safeties. This continues that legacy. And Daniel, it fits what you asked me the other day. What would you rather have to pair with Curtis coming on over? You said,
that was my pick.
That was your pick.
Yeah.
Well, we have him. I said, don't get me all excited about wide receiver. However, wide receiver in certain positions of the game can take over in situational football. And what Kirby Smart loves to do, as we all know, is man up, play on an island, send pressure, and tell the guys, beat the man across from you. Well, if you can do that with Ellis Robinson and Fitzpatrick for a year, I think they'll maybe for 1 year. But if he continues and he slots in right after that, man, my goodness. I think it also helps the momentum on the defensive side of the ball. Not only is he an exceptional athlete at the cornerback position, it helps with Tyler Atkinson, who I want to be a dog so badly.
Yeah, he does.
So this continues that momentum, gives us depth at defensive back position. It's Fitzpatrick, Daniel. It has to be.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. And I mean, you mentioned it for him to be Minkah Fitzpatrick's brother, as you mentioned. Does it say something about the Kalen DeBoer, Alabama? I don't know. Draw your own conclusions. You draw your own conclusions, because he may have ties to Alabama, or does he just have ties to Nick Saban?
Oh,
you understand what the difference was there?
There's a big difference.
It's a nuanced, but I tried to spell it out pretty clearly. So there's a pretty big difference between having ties to Nick Saban, which many do, and having ties to Kalen DeBoer and the South Dakota-led Alabama Crimson Tide. Again,
I don't mean to say this disparaging about myself nor him, but literally, your boy played against his team. Anytime you could say that statement,
Yeah.
I'm here to tell you, Daniel, see me run. Okay.
Clint didn't play on the highest level of college football, let's just say. It wasn't. But so far, the returns have been good in the SEC. So 1 year in the SEC, and he has 0 SEC titles and 0 college football playoff appearances. And so he's got a lot to build on. And now he has lost a legacy recruit to Georgia, to Kirby Smart in Georgia. So these are all things to consider when thinking about Alabama football. Clint's got some questions for me regarding Georgia's schedule, their upcoming games, and whether or not we even have a chance to cover any of these spreads right after these.
But these are, in fact, Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go?
Never.
Dining out, online shopping, entertainment. It's easy to lose track. We know who's to blame, though, Daniel. You and I know who's to blame for that.
Never me.
That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO. Full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. Complete financial command center. Stop managing money and start building wealth. It's got awesome insights. When I'm using this, I love using Monarch Money because it makes me realize just how much I'm spending on food delivery. Now I get to budget smarter and save more. Take control of your finances. Monarch Money. Use promo code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com. 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. It's certainly not anybody else's fault, but everybody else's fault for
everyone but me.
Everyone but me. Daniel, speaking of everybody else's fault, I don't know how to tell this to you, rest of college football. Yeah. But two things came to you at the same time. One,
okay,
you all have said Gunnar Stockton is not even worth a top 10 in the SEC. Kirby Smart doesn't have any returning talent, and it's going to be lucky if they don't lose 3-4 games this year. That's not me making it up. Okay? Like 2021, 2022, he made it up. Everybody, he made it up. Okay?
Yeah. Can we stop, though, for 1 second, Clint, and just pause here? I apologize.
He doesn't.
For nothing. Because at the end of the year, no one is going to admit that anyone doubted Georgia. No one is going to admit that. Everyone is going to say, oh my gosh, Georgia, this is Kirby Smart just playing the sad song over and over again. How many times is he going to do this and blah, blah, blah. No one is going to be willing to man up and say, when Gunnar Stockton proves that he's one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the SEC, when Georgia wins the SEC title, when Georgia makes the college football playoff, when Georgia competes for a national championship, no one is going to say, we thought you had the 11th best quarterback in the Southeastern Conference and that you lost way too much talent on the offensive line, at the running back position, at the wide receiver position, at the defensive line position, at the linebacker position. We thought there's no way that Georgia will be as good this year. This is the beginning of the end of the Kirby Smart dynasty. This is where the other shoe drops and Georgia goes back to being little old Georgia again. No one's going to be willing to say that, Clint. That's the frustrating part, because this narrative that you and I have been talking about all offseason.
Yep.
We have been seeing it, and it's been raising. At first it started, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. That's an interesting take.
They listed 100 top college football players, and the first Georgia player was C.J. Allen in the 95th slot. He's not the best linebacker we have.
He's not the best player at his position. And listen to me. That's not me banking on the hopes of a true. Raylan Wilson is better than him.
Correct. Justin Williams may become better than CJ Allen.
May become better than CJ Allen.
Raylan Wilson today is better than CJ Allen.
And neither of them are even close to the best defensive player we have.
Nope.
And the best player on the team might play offense.
Interesting. That's
okay.
Wild.
So, but no one's going to admit that, Clint.
I can't wait. Daniel, I can't wait. Truth be told,
If only there were a group chat
where if only there was a group chat.
A bunch of people frequently posted their opinions about things.
Interesting. Okay. There are game lines that have come out, Daniel.
Yes, game lines. I'm sorry. Get us to the second segment. We're almost there.
Is this. No, I'm not going to let you miss it. I'm going to give you two games. There are notable games Georgia has been given odds and the point spread. If you don't know, if you're new to gambling, if you're new to Vegas, let me just explain. If you have a team and a negative in front of it, that means that they're spotting the team, UGA, against, let's say, Marshall, is giving Marshall 33.5 points on a fictitious game. If Georgia beats them by 34 points or more, guess what? The fictitious game, they cover. It's that simple, okay?
We love a cover.
We love a cover. I'm going to give Daniel two game lines that he must choose from.
Okay.
And Daniel, I'm going to give you off the tee box. I'm going to give you the two most marquee ones. We're going to have fun with it.
Let's get into it.
UGA against Alabama. Both these games I've been giving you at home. Alabama. 5-point favorites is Georgia. Home against Alabama. 2.5-point favorites is Georgia against Texas. If you're new to gambling, just let you know that means 2.5 points is the margin of error for having a home game. Home game is like 2.5, 3 points. What they're saying is Texas and Georgia are the same team. Georgia gets the favorite.
Texas a little better.
Little better in this. Like I said, 3 points. Georgia's getting the favor because they're at home. So Daniel, I just ask you this. Which of those two games would you rather take Georgia giving the points, giving 5 to Bama, or giving 2.5 to Texas to cover the spread? Which one would you rather have?
Okay.
He about to cook. Just
the answer is quite simple. Let me talk you through it.
Go ahead.
As the question was coming out of your mouth,
yes,
and you got to Bama -5, which is, I'm not sure if you know this because you played at a very low level football, and so a touchdown's worth a full 7.
Correct.
Okay. Touchdown extra point.
It was still worth 7 at my level.
Well, you're an older guy, and so I didn't know back then. A forward pass is when you throw the ball, Clint, down when you were running the wing tee. I don't know if that. So a touchdown's worth a full 7, and you're telling me that Georgia's only favored by 5, which is substantially less, based on my maths, than 7.
Correct.
I think Georgia's going to beat the crap out of Alabama.
Ooh, here we go.
I think Georgia's going to. I think they're going to flex a little bit against Alabama. I think Georgia was twice the team Alabama was last year. And I think they absolutely had a brain fart, mental collapse in the first quarter of that game. Poor preparation, poor coaching on behalf of Kirby Smart. We said it.
Go back and listen.
Absolutely flat out out-coached by Kalen DeBoer.
He did.
Out-schemed, out-game planned. And then over the next 3 quarters, I think Georgia proved that they were the better team on the road to almost nearly come all the way back. And we know Georgia wasn't that good. Georgia's better this year than they were last year. Correct. Is Alabama better this year than they were last year? I think the jury is still out on that. I think at best, even an Alabama fan would probably tell you the jury's still out on that. And now you're going to come to Athens and play that game between the hedges. Kirby Smart, first shot at Alabama in Athens. I don't think this is a game that he's going to be losing, Clint.
I'm going to multiple times hammer this line just so we're fully aware.
Yes, me too. But that's not the one I would take. If I could only take one. If I could only take one.
Okay, Daniel did a little.
Give me, who's the most overrated team in the country, Clint?
Texas.
Oh, interesting. The most overrated team in the country goes on the road to Sanford Stadium, a home field environment that we know is trash. We've been told by the national media, by Tennessee fans, who have multiple wins in Sanford Stadium in the last decade, and so they would know.
Oh, no.
Home field environment is absolute trash.
Yep.
Georgia's not even getting a full 3 or giving a full 3 here. Georgia's going to eke out a win.
Correct.
Against Texas, against the guy who couldn't beat out Quinn Ewers.
Couldn't beat out Quinn Ewers.
Guy who came in for one play and absolutely got it handed to him by an average Georgia defense last year.
Lost offensive line, generational left tackle, lost linebackers, lost running back.
Not Steve Sarkisian, not Josh Heupel Jr. out here trying to out-scheme Kirby Smart. Not again. Not in Athens, Clint. The answer to your question is,
oh man, I love this.
A parlay. You take them both because they're both stone cold locks. You understand? Lock of the week, stone cold. It's technically Thursday night as we're recording, so I'm feeling locks. Right.
I understand.
You understand?
I understand. In season, just so you guys know, in season, Thursday nights, we give out locks for all the bets, including Georgia in the first segment. So get back here in season for Thursday for locks.
But you can't do this in the season because they don't have the futures out.
Correct.
Today's the day that you parlay these two together.
Put them.
And you take all that free money, the juice that they're going to give you, and you take them both, Clint.
Texas may not score 9 points in that game, Daniel. Like
they may not.
That's not me wishing. I'm giving that a 25% chance of happening.
I'll tell you this. Neither of these games are one of the 2 most likely losses for Georgia this year.
Nope.
Neither of these games are in the top 2.
It's Tennessee. Tennessee's the most likely.
Yeah. Neither of these games. So that's my take. We're gonna be right back. I'm gonna talk about some other games. I'm gonna get Clint's opinion on this Bama Texas conversation right after these.
Can I just
Clint, am I crazy?
Let me just stay as we're starting the third segment. Can I just it is June 13th.
Yeah.
But I'm here to tell you, Daniel and I are in mid-season form.
Clint, don't come at this man on Twitter over here. Let me just tell you now, he's in his lane. Okay.
I am locked and loaded.
He's in his lane.
I'm looking for you.
If your car drifts, you understand? If your car drifts, it ain't going to be a beep, beep. You understand? Like, if he's taking that Oldsmobile and he's putting it right into the side of you.
Like, I know what a pit maneuver is. And
that Buick Skylark ain't going to take no damage when he says.
But see, it didn't have the positive traction on the Buick Skylark. It didn't have that until 75.
Yeah. Well, Miss Vito. Miss Vito. You've been an incredible witness. There are 9 people listening to this that are going to understand that reference. But if you do understand that reference, send us an email and we will mention you on the show.
Somebody mentioned the Steamboat Willie. That's great. Glad you were out there. That's fantastic. Okay.
Well, you don't want to get the Athens traffic, cops out there handing out tickets. You want to be careful where you park that thing.
All right, here we go.
Okay.
You're not crazy, Daniel. You're not crazy. Arch Manning is the most overrated quarterback in the nation. Secondly, the defense is going to take a step back in my mind, in my assessment. Third, the offensive line is going to take a step back in my mind. Fourth, they don't have wide receivers that they did last year. Fifth, their running back may not be the same, and it may not be a better room with depth. It's a less talented team that didn't go far in the playoff with a new quarterback for the first time in the SEC traveling to Athens. You're not crazy. Not crazy.
What are you saying, Miss Vito? I'm saying it couldn't have been the Buick Skylark.
All we're saying.
All right. Let me give you 2 under the radar games.
Okay, great.
Okay. A little bit sneakier games. Okay.
Yeah.
We could talk about Tennessee, a game that you and I both think on the road is a tough game for Georgia. Talk about Florida, a team that's up and coming, loves their quarterback, thinks that they've got that Billy Napier's finally been able to put all the pieces together there in Gainesville to maybe compete for a Sun Belt title this year with the Gators. But I don't want to go to any of those games. Let's talk if we could, Ole Miss, Auburn. Okay, Georgia favored by 9.5 points at home against Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
And then Georgia favored by 7.5 points against the Auburn Tigers. If I only let you bet on one of those two games, Clint, where are you going?
By the way, really quick, Florida, the game against Florida, 9.5 point favorite against Florida this year.
We'll talk about that next time.
That's
on the Locked On Bulldogs podcast.
We're trying to give you a little bit of just a mooge booge, if you will, a little taster. Okay. This one for me, Daniel, I don't know how to tell people. But there are certain people in the world that hear black jersey and go running for the closet.
They have soiled themselves. They need a black jersey because they've created a situation.
Okay. I hear Jordan Hare Stadium.
Yeah.
I have problems in my emotional integrity.
Yeah.
I have issues.
The Constitution goes completely out the window.
Jake Fromm completed 1.5 passes that game. I'm still certain of it. I don't know how you complete a half a pass.
I think it was a one-handed catch.
And it was 15 yards off target. I don't know how he made that catch. Okay. I have PTSD from Alabama. Ole Miss, on the other hand, Lane Kiffin grew up a lot last year. I gave him kudos for how he handled Kirby coming on over there. I really did. I was very impressed with him. But the problem with Lane is that he missed his shot. His shot was the most talented team he's ever had at Ole Miss, maybe ever will, if I can be honest. Because that transfer portal, he hit on all those guys he hit on, Daniel. I mean, it was incredible. He did a bang-up job. Jackson Dart, most talented quarterback he's ever had. I'll go there. I'll say it. Yeah, probably. Running back? Yep. I mean, he had it all, and he couldn't put it together. Now, you come to our house, Kirby, defense. You gave him a lot. You threw everything you had. If you come at the king, you better hit, and you hit, Lane. But guess what? Each year, you got to do it again. You might be able to do it one time. It's not going to happen multiple times. The defense is taking a step back for Ole Miss. It's going to be at our place. You have a new quarterback, a freshman quarterback coming in, a second year guy coming in who looked really good for one drive, but that's it.
Yep.
And you don't have the support cast before. Daniel, this is not me hating on Moses. This is me just looking at logic and saying 9.5 points at home. Ole Miss is a 10-point less team than Georgia on a neutral site, but I get you at home. You're a double-digit dog neutral site. I get you at home. I'm locking up the Ole Miss line right now. 9.5 points. I think this is inversion of last year. I think the beatdown we took is given back in kind to Lane this year, Daniel.
Because of the beatdown we took, because of that beatdown, now it's coming the other way. What I hear you saying is that we're losing to Auburn. Set the season on fire. It's all over. Brian Harsin Jr. over there has got us figured out. And by that, I mean Hugh Freeze, obviously. And, Auburn's a better football team than us. I do think it's crazy. Auburn is a team that's on the come up, right? If Auburn played Ole Miss on a neutral site right now.
Thank you. Here we go.
Wouldn't you lean Auburn? I mean, it'd be close. It's not like I go Auburn -4 or something. No. But I would lean Auburn.
Pick them on a neutral field. Me do points if they're playing at Mercedes-Benz for like a kickoff game for the SEC. I would lean Auburn 100%.
And that game's on the road, and Georgia's giving 7.5, and then a game at home against Ole Miss, and Georgia's only giving 9.5. It just they feel wrong.
They feel wrong
to me.
It should be the other way, Daniel, but something's weird. He is Daniel. I'm Clint. This is Locked On Bulldogs, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day. We'll see you all next time. We give more lines, more information about the Georgia Bulldogs. Come here every day for us. We'll see you guys then.
See ya.